Good morning. Welcome to VirtualPBX admin training. You should be seeing on your screen the login page. That's just dash.virtualpbx.com. If you happen to be on the virtualpbx.com website, you can get here by mousing over support, and on the left you should see the login link there. And your login, your username is your email address, so hopefully you know that. Password. If you just signed up, this was generated for you by the system. Otherwise, your admin created a password for you. And then the account name is your company name. And once you have that typed in, you can go ahead and click on Remember Me, so that way you don't have to keep typing it in. And if you ever forget your information, you have the Forgot Info link here to get to recover your password and reset it. And then once you get logged in, you get sent to the dashboard. Now, if you're a new sign-up, the first time you log in, you're going to get to the Dash Wizard, which is going to cover some information that's found underneath your name up here at the top, which is your account information. Once you close out of that, you're here in the dashboard. So here in the center, we got your total users. Dash plans are based off of the number of users you have. So for each person you have, or each person you add, you're increasing your bill. Down below that, I have my devices and a breakdown of the types of devices I'm using: softphone, cell phone, etc. Unregistered means I have 32 VoIP devices that are not connected to the system, meaning the system can't send calls to them or receive calls from them. Towards the top right, we've got the main numbers on the account. So these are numbers my customers are calling to get to my phone system. Right? So for you, that'd be your phone numbers that your customers are calling. These phone numbers all behave the same way. So they're all going to have the same main greeting. They're all going to have the same routing. Next up, we've got my fax box number. So this allows me to receive faxes on this account. There's another section here you could have, which is for your conference number. So if you're making use of the conference bridge, it would show up here. Total phone numbers on the account, 31. Then I have 29 of them are assigned and 2 of them are spare numbers. So an assigned number is a number I'm using. It goes someplace, right? It's one of my main numbers, for example, or it goes directly to a user or a ring group. A spare number is a number on the account that I'm not using, but I'm keeping that number so I can use it at any time. Your Dash plans include anywhere from 1 to 3 phone numbers as part of your plan. So once you go over that, you're spending $4.99 per month per phone number. So I'm adding quite a bit to my bill here based on phone numbers. Down below here, we've got our breakdown between, in this case, USDID, meaning U.S. local numbers, so specific area code for a city or the state, depending on the area, the geographic area. And then U.S. toll-free would be 800 numbers, etc. You could also have an indication here for international numbers. On Dash, if you want an international number, you're going to need to email porting at virtualpbx.com. Indicate the city and country that you want a phone number in. If there are further requirements, our porting team will let you know what those are, and that's based on countries. So like Germany, for example, they require proof of presence in the city that you're requesting a phone number in. Usually a utility bill is enough. But some countries are much more stringent, others are much more relaxed. It just depends on the country. Company directory, right here, you notice here that it says I have 11 users in my company directory, but I have a total of 19. So that means when I created 8 of my users, I opted to not include them in the user directory. I can change that at any time. And then you also have the option here to download. Next line, we've got the account ID number. This is essentially your account number. Now, you ever have to call into support, for example, we're not going to ask you for the account number. We'll ask you for your company name and look you up that way. The account realm, which is this information right here. Use that for a couple things. if you're programming a third-party device, whether that's a softphone application like XLite or a VoIP phone that doesn't show up under our auto provision list, you would use this information as part of the programming for that application or device. This is also used in faxing out. So on Dash, we have email to fax in terms of sending fax out. In the to field of that email, it's +1 area code and phone number, so the fax number you're sending to. Then you have the @ symbol and then your account realm. And then you just attach a PDF or TIFF file and send that off. And then here at the bottom, we've got your store discount code. So just for being a Dash customer, you get a discount on items you purchase through the web store. Handy link up here at the top. And you can order VoIP phones or network equipment. Since we're back up here at the top, we'll go ahead and click on caller ID here at the top. So the company caller ID is based off of your main phone numbers, and you can choose whichever one you want to work with. The company caller ID name, also referred to as CNAME or CNOM, depending on who you talk to. This is where you put in your company name that will show up on the caller ID when you make calls out with your VoIP phones. This is restricted to 15 characters, including spaces or special characters. This is an industry standard. Basically, when you click on Save Changes, that information gets sent off to the other carriers that support CNAME. They update their servers, so that way when calls route through them, your CNAME information will show up. So, a couple things to be aware of. First, not every carrier supports CNAME. So it's possible that when you make an outbound call, your call could go through a carrier that doesn't support CNAME. That means your CNAME information will not show up at the destination device. Even for the carriers who do support CNAME, it's their last priority. So if they're having heavier than expected call volume, the CNAME information isn't going to go through, right? The first priority for carriers is connect the call, right? Then caller ID information, and then CNAME. And obviously, if they're having some sort of outage or maintenance issue, that's also probably going to impact whether or not the CNAME information goes through. Next up, we have the company emergency address, or E911. So this is for your VoIP phones. Basically, someone on your account with a VoIP phone picks up their phone, dials 911. This is the default address information that gets sent to emergency services. So first and foremost, you want to make sure this is the correct address. One thing to keep in mind is if you have remote employees, the address, you can adjust the address for each device. So that way it has the correct device or address for that person. And then when you make any changes, you click on Save Changes. Oh, you do want to select or set the company caller ID information so that when you make an outbound call from your VoIP phones, your company phone number shows up. Otherwise, you usually get your extension number that will show up on the caller ID, which can throw people off. All right, next up we've got hold music. So hold music on Dash, basically call comes in, your staff member picks up, they have to put the person on hold, so they press the hold button on their VoIP phone. And this is the hold music file that will play by default. So on Dash, you can upload your own hold music. It needs to be in either .wav, .wav, or .mp3 formats. It needs to be under 1 megabyte in size. And you want to make sure you record in mono, not in stereo. All right? So because when you listen to it over the phone, you've got one speaker. So when you try to have two audio streams, right, stereos, typically two audio streams, going through one speaker, you either get a ton of static, and you can barely hear whatever it is that's playing, or you get dead air. So you definitely want to make sure it's recorded in mono. But then, assuming that your file is proper in the right format, you click Upload, you find the file on your computer, and then you click this little icon here, little up arrow with the blue and white, to upload it, and then you click Save Changes. All right, next we'll go into hours of operation, which is under part of our main number. Okay, by default, new accounts, they start off at 24-hour open office. You can change that to custom office hours. For each day of the week that you're open, you want to put a check mark. And then you want to put your open hours in 24-hour military time. You just select the correct times. And then down here at the bottom, if your whole office is closed for lunch, or your whole store, or what have you, you can put the check mark here saying, yes, we're closed for lunch, and then you can put your lunch hours in. Office holidays. If you're closed for holidays, put a check mark up here at the top. And then you click Add Holiday, and you have the option of single day, date range, or advanced. Single day, pretty straightforward. You're closed for one day. Like here, I have here for President's Day, so February 20th, which probably is not correct because it's probably from this past year. Date range, I've got here for Christmas, or I did. Yep, looks like someone changed it on me. Let's see if it'll allow me to put a new one here. All right, so, oops. Looks like my streaming software is not allowing me to use drop downs here. But basically, you set a date range for a number of days that you're closed, and the system will put you in holiday mode. The main caveat is to be aware of New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You do not want a date range that includes December 31st and January 1st, and that is because there's no year indicator here in the holidays. So basically, the system just puts you in holiday mode all year round. So in that case, you'd want to do single days for those. And then lastly, for advanced, basically right here, the second Monday in March, I'm putting us in holiday mode. Just like our company annual retreat for a weekend kind of thing. And again, you click on Save Changes. And then we get to incoming call handling. So you have these sub-tabs here, right? Open hours, you have your after hours, and your holidays. All three have the same options. So the first one here, call comes in, it goes to the virtual receptionist. And this is a link, so you can open this. And then here you have your routing. So on the left is your main menu. This is what people dial on their phone to navigate through your phone system. And on the right, this is where you handle your greeting. So when you click on Add Route, you get another row. And you can select basically 0 through 9. And then you can have it go to anyone. Basically, you have it go to the directory. You can have it go to a specific person. You can have it go to an ACD queue or call queue. I can have it go to a specific device. I don't typically recommend going straight to a device unless that device has its own voicemail, in which case then the person has a chance to leave a message. You can have it go to a media file. Again, typically not recommended because once that media file is done playing, then the call is ended. And then you can go to my ring groups or your ring groups, basically your departments, or you can have it go right to a voicemail box. Greeting types, text-to-speech, you type it, you click Update, you'll click Save here, and then Save Changes over here to the right. And then the greeting's there in place. And then you can just type in here to make updates. So if it doesn't sound quite right, you can make minor changes there. You can upload your own file. Right? Click Choose File, find the file on your computer. Again, .wav, all your recordings that you can choose from. So this is good for like after the holidays, right? You might have a special greeting for Christmas time and New Year's, but then after that lapses, you're like, okay, let's go back to our normal greeting. That's where you would probably use this. Recorded over the phone. So this is, the system assumes you're going to be calling in from a VoIP phone that you've already added to the account, and then this PIN number is specific to this time of day, right? So I'm in the open hours menu. So this PIN number is specific to my open hours. I can only call in and use it during my open hours. Right? So if I wanted to adjust my after hours greeting, one, I'll have a different PIN number, but I also have to call in during the after hours. And the way around that is you adjust your settings under the office hours strategy, so you can put yourself into closed mode temporarily, and then call in, create the greeting, and then professional recorded services. Basically, we've partnered with another company called Snap Recordings, and when you click order, you'll go to their website. They have like 100 voices to choose from in terms of between male and female. They have different versions of English, like UK English versus American versus Australian, etc. They also have different versions of French, different versions of Spanish, so you can also have multilingual greetings. They also have packages that include the hold treatment, right? So you can have hold music with a script, then music and a script, etc. They handle their own billing. They handle delivery to you via email. So basically you get the file and then you just simply upload it. Settings here, the number of retries on misdial. Basically, how many times can someone mess up on your menu options before you disconnect the call? Now, if you have a default route set, so after I have one here, right? So they get one mess up. If I had a default route, then I would send it to that default route. But since I don't have one, it'll end the call. The reason to not have a default route is to avoid robodialers from getting to voicemail and using up time on your account. Right? So if you make someone press the menu option, then you know, hey, it's a person, and it's not some robotic system trying to call in. Again, if you make any changes, you click Save here, but you also need to click Save Changes here to make sure all your changes get saved properly. All right, option 2, call comes in. You're trying to offer it to a person or group, right? So typically you're going to send it to a user. You might send it to a device. You can send it to a queue or a ring group. So for instance, you have like a front desk group where you have like your receptionist team. That call goes in, it rings them, they answer it. If they're all busy or they're already all on calls, then the caller goes to a virtual receptionist, so your inbound caller can select the menu option or enter an extension number to try to speak to someone. And then last option, similar, right? You're going to send a call to a user or a ring group, etc. If they're not able to pick up, then you're sending them to voicemail. This also has another option at the very bottom here, I believe. Yeah. Skipped right to voicemail. Basically, you're sending them straight to voicemail, i.e. you're closed for right now. Just you don't want anyone's phone to ring. You're just sending them to voicemail. And these are the same options you have under after hours, holidays, etc. All right, your main fax box number. You can always unassign a number here. I can do that here if I want. Oops. Oh, this is a test account, so faxing doesn't quite work right on this particular account. You can also edit the fax box here. It'll pop up with a window with 2 options. The first field that you can enter is an email address field, right? So you can enter in who you want to get the email of the fax that comes in. Basically, if we get a fax, we convert it into a PDF file, then we send it to that email address you specify. And then you just open up the PDF. The other box is if you have your own domain for your company, so abcdogwalking.com. You can add that domain into that second field, and anyone with an email address at abcdogwalking.com can then fax out. They don't have to be a user on your Dash account. They just need to have that email address, or that an email address in that domain. And then they just create an email, put +1 area code and phone number, your account realm, attach a PDF or TIFF, and send it off. All right, numbers. Show the numbers on your account. So these are the ones that are in use. Your spare numbers are numbers you're keeping but you're not using right away. You have the option here to buy numbers. So if you signed up and you didn't choose any numbers when you signed up, you would use buy numbers to add numbers to your account. So local, you would choose an area code. We'll see if there's anything in 323. And sure enough, there is. And you just click Add, and you can add multiple at the same time. And then you click on By Numbers. System verifies that the number is still active. Now I can move that or assign it to a user. The toll-free prefix you want. You click Search, and then you'll see what's available, and then you click Add to add it to your account. So if you've just signed up, you didn't choose any numbers, when you buy numbers, you're not increasing your bill because your account already includes anywhere from 1 to 3 numbers as part of your plan. So it's basically the first number for sure you're not going to be charged for. After that, it'll depend if you went over the plan allotment. Number 2 here, we have a chance to port. This means you're moving a phone number from another carrier to VirtualPBX. So from AT&T to VirtualPBX. You click on New Port Request, and then you start following the on-screen instructions. Essentially, a couple things to keep in mind when it comes to porting. We need a filled-out letter of agency, or LOA. You can download a blank one from this port process as well as on our website. We also, for a local phone number, right, so in a specific city, we need the copy of a bill, your most recent bill from your current carrier. In this port process, you have the opportunity to also upload your completed LOA and your copy of your bill in PDF. And when you click Submit, then all that is sent to our porting team. And then they start handling the port process. You should get a couple emails saying, hey, we got your information. Another one when an actual staff member has said, oh, reviewed it, saying, hey, yes, we did get it, and we're beginning the process now. And then after that, once we submit the port request, we're waiting from the current carrier, right, so whoever has that number right now, to get back to us. Now, hopefully they say, great, all the information checks off. We're going to release the number to you on this date. When we get that date, we let you know via email saying, hey, your number is going to complete on this date. Then when that day rolls around, we email you again saying, hey, your number has completed. We tested to verify that the number works. And then go ahead and do any further configuration you need to do. Now, if there's a problem with the port, usually like an address mismatch or the wrong person signed for it on the LOA, the current carrier will let us know, hey, port's rejected, here's why. And they give us just the bare bones response, like the address was wrong. We email you letting you know, hey, we got a rejection, and here's the reason that was given to us. At that point, you would need to call your current carrier and find out specifically what was wrong, and either update your carrier with the information you gave us, or you get the correct information from your carrier, let us know, and then we update the port request, and then hopefully it goes through. Now, if for some reason that port process through the dashboard here doesn't work, or you get error messages, you can always email porting@virtualpbx.com directly with the LOA and the bill copy, and we can still process the port. All right, users, these are all the users on the account, and this is where you add new users. You put in the first name, last name, the email address they use for login. So each user has to have a unique email address to log in. You create a password, and then you give them a main extension number. Now, on this particular account, I started off that first extension as extension 1000. So now the system is saying, hey, the next available number is 1006, right? So I probably had someone at 1006 at one point and removed them, so that's why it's the next one. I can change this to be whatever I want. I can start it with a 7, right? So 7006, or 2214, however I want to set it up. All right, next up, you have your options here. So create a voicemail box for this user. By default, that's checked for you. We do recommend that. Basically, that voicemail box then is tied directly to that user. So if you add a VoIP phone to this user via auto provisioning, if that user gets a voicemail, the VoIP phone will light up, right? Say, hey, you got a voicemail, so you know to check. That's one of the advantages of it. All right, here's your option to include the user in the directory. You can send emails to an alternate address. So this is in addition to the login email. All right, the login email address is always going to get the notifications for this user this is giving you an option to send it to an additional one. So like a personal email address, so it gets sent to their home email. And then this last one, probably the most important one, send credentials to the user. So that way, the new person that you're adding to the account can then have their login information. And then you click on Create User if that's only adding one. If you're going to be adding more people, create user and add another. All right, once you've added a user, you can always come back to them. If you click on their name, you can change their name. You can change their passwords. Voicemail box PIN, you can always change the PIN. Now, if you have people who are using their VoIP phones that are auto-provisioned on the account, you don't have to set up a PIN for their voicemail box. They can just call in on their own, and the system will prompt them to input a PIN for the voicemail box. If your users are predominantly using like cell phone or landlines, then you do have to create a PIN so that way they can access it over the phone. Again, you have the option here to send emails to an alternate address. Here's your option for including in the company directory or not. Over here to the right, this should be a drop-down so you can make a user into an admin so they can basically do all the things we're talking about today. And their icon will change into a person with a little blue suit. One caveat is if you just signed up, do not change yourself to be a user without making sure you've had someone else who is an admin. Right? You want to make sure you have at least one admin. This is a time zone, so you can select the appropriate time zone for this user, or just leave it to the account defaults. Language, you have the choice of English, French, or Russian. Ringing timeout. So by default, new users are set to a ringing timeout of 20 seconds, which basically means call comes in, person enters in the extension for this user, and then the system tries to reach that person for 20 seconds, or in this case, 45. So 20 seconds, typically plenty of time to reach a VoIP phone, especially if it's a physical VoIP phone plugged in via Ethernet. Also, plenty of time to get to a landline. If you have a user that's predominantly using a cell phone, you definitely want to make sure the ringing timeout is set to 45 seconds to a minute. It simply takes longer to route a call to a cell phone than it does to, say, a landline, right? Basically, every time a call is reaching you on your cell phone carrier has to bounce it off cell phone towers to find you. Doesn't matter if you've been in the same spot for hours, they still have to bounce it off a couple towers. That's why it just takes a little bit longer. Main extension number, typically there's only just one extension number for most users. And then you click on Save Changes. The extension box, you can add multiple extensions to a user if you want. The phone number box, you can create a phone number, or you can assign a phone number, right? So I can add from my spare numbers, or I can just buy a new number and assign it specifically to this user. So basically, anyone calls this number, it goes straight to David here, which is me, and they don't have to go through the main menu. They don't have to hear main greeting. It's just going to start ringing my devices. Speaking of devices, right, you see the devices I have on this user. You can always add from spare devices or from a new device. The first one is SIP phone. So a SIP phone is a type of VoIP phone, right? There's several different kinds of VoIP in the world. On Dash, we use what's called SIP phones. And then we have these manufacturers that you can auto-provision with. If you select one, then you look for your model. You select the model, and then you enter a name for the device, right? So Bob's phone, right? And then the MAC address of the device itself. The MAC address is typically a sticker on the back of the phone. Hopefully it's labeled MAC, sometimes labeled serial number. And then you click Create Device. Once you click Create Device, you're done with the device, at least on Dash. You do have to log into the phone's web UI. You basically need to update a URL in that UI, which then tells the phone will then reboot. It'll try to reach out to that URL. And the reason you have the MAC address is, hey, the phone reaches us, gives us its MAC address. Our system says, oh, we know what that is. here's your configuration information. Your phone gets it, reboots, and then it should be ready to use. That's the advantage of auto provisioning for the most part. Plus, you can make use of all the features of that phone. All right, cell phone and landline are basically the same. You give it a name, and then you put +1 area code and phone number. Like so, and then you click Create Device, and there it is. You click Save Changes, so once you've added a cell phone or landline, you can then click on it. You want to go under Advanced. All right. So this is how the default setup for a cell phone or landline. So call comes in, it'll start ringing to the user, then we start offering it to the devices. When we offer a call to a cell phone or landline, your phone will ring. When you pick up, you'll hear the system come on and say, this is a forwarded call, please press 1. By pressing 1, you're letting the system know you're there and that you want to take the call. Right? So you press 1, system says, oh great, connects the call, so then you can start talking. If, however, you're setting calls to, say, an automated answering service, that automated answering service typically can't press 1. So what you would want to do is put a check mark here, allow use of cell phone's voicemail or landline voicemail, and then save changes. When you do that, basically, the answering service would pick up. We hear that connection tone when we connect the call. Now, if this is an actual cell phone, and I have this enabled, then if my cell phone voicemail picks up, the caller gets into my voicemail box on my cell phone, and they can leave a message. Some people love that, some people don't. All right, keep a regional caller ID basically means when the call is offered to this device, so the cell phone, on my phone's display, I'll see that person's phone number, whatever it may be. If I uncheck this, instead of their phone number, I'm going to see what phone number they called to, right? So one of the company phone numbers will show up on my caller ID. So then I would know, oh, this is a business call versus a random telemarketer. All right, Softphone, you've got a couple options. One, you want to make sure you read this message here. Now, by default, when you click Add Softphone, the system puts you into adding a third-party softphone. So like you're going to use Xlite from Counterpath. So you would give it a device name, and then you use SIP username and the SIP password and the realm to program that application. Now, we do have our own Softphone application. So if you want to use that, instead what you do down here, this last option that looks grayed out, right, it says Use Third-Party Application. If you click there, now you've changed it to use VirtualPBX application. You just put in the device name and you click Create Device. What that does is on this page, I'm on a user. So when you click on Create Device, the system will email that user, here's your username and login for the Softphone. Go ahead and download it to your phone. And you can find it on the for iOS and Android in their respective app stores under VPBX Phone. So then they can use that username and password that they were emailed, log in, and they're ready to go. We do have desktop versions of our Softphone for Windows and Mac OS. However, those require a license fee. So you're better off in that case ordering it from the store. Okay, the next device is the web phone. The web phone is a top of VoIP phone. You give it a device name, and then you click Create Device. So what the web phone does, it allows you to make use of Chrome or Firefox on your computer to make and receive calls. Now, the login to that web phone is the same information as your login to Dash, right? So it uses your email address, it uses your password, and your account name. So when you add a web phone, you want to make sure you're on the user page and adding it through this way. Just like the VPBX Softphone, you want to add both of these on the user page. Then we go to user features. All right, caller ID number. This only applies to users that have their own phone number. You can then choose to have them show their particular phone number for their outbound caller ID. Right? So I pick up my VoIP phone, I make a call. The 702 number will show up as my caller ID information versus one of the company numbers. Right? If I disable it, then it'll be the main company number. Call forwarding. This is a VoIP phone feature, or basically it's off, on, or failover mode, right? Off means you're not using it. On means you know you're not going to be by your desk phone, so forward it to my cell phone. So here, we'll go ahead and put it to on, and then I put my cell phone +1 area code phone number. I click Save Changes. So basically, call comes into my users. Instead of ringing my VoIP phones that I'm not at, it's going to instead just automatically send it to my cell phone. Now, the cell phone should not be a device on this user. Actually, it shouldn't be a device on the accounts because it's just a temporary thing that you typically use, right? VoIP phone is your everyday use. Oh, I'm not going to be there for an hour or two, but I still want to be able to get business calls. Let me make use of call forwarding, send it to my cell phone. And then failover mode basically means, hey, my VoIP phone's lost connection for whatever reasons. The system will automatically detect that and then send the calls directly to your cell phone. So then when you start getting business calls on your cell phone, you're like, oh, what's wrong with my VoIP phone? You can contact your ID department or just try to power cycle your phone, etc. The other thing about call forwarding is your users can enable this themselves. They don't need you to enable it. They can access call forwarding via the user portal as well as over their VoIP phone. Hot desking, another VoIP phone feature. This is if you're in a shared office environment where your staff may be at different desks and thus at different VoIP phones from day to day. Right? So today I'm sitting at desk number 7. Tomorrow I might be at desk 35. I still want to get my calls, and it's a lot easier to have it called on a VoIP phone than it is on my cell phone. So if I enable hot desking, you give yourself as an admin, you give hot desk IDs. I usually say just match it to the extension number. You don't have to require a PIN, that's optional. And then you click on Save Changes. So then basically what happens is your staff member, they get in for the day, get to their desk, they go to the VoIP phone that they're at, they pick up the handset, they hit *11. That enables hot desking. The system will then come on and ask them for their hot desk ID and then their PIN number if you've enabled that. And then it says hot desking is now enabled, and basically calls to my user will then go to the desk that desk phone that I'm sitting at. At the end of my day, I pick up the phone, I hit *12, that turns off hot desking. And then the next day I come in, I'm at that different desk, but in a different phone, but I still hit *11, and then calls will come to me at that second phone. Voicemail, again, I created a voicemail box for the user. Pretty straightforward. Fax box, users can have their own individual fax box if you want them to, versus having the general one. In that case, if you're going to have multiple fax boxes to your users, I recommend making use of, or not making use of a main fax box number, first and foremost, and then just the users who need them. You either give them a phone number that goes directly to their fax box, or you can give them an extension. And the extension is specific to the faxing. Now, if you do the extension, that means whoever's faxing to you has to call your main number. Then they have to enter that extension number and then hit fax start from their fax machine. From my own personal experience, whenever I used an analog fax machine, I entered the number, I hit start fax, and then I walked away and come back and check to see if it was done later. So that would be the only hurdle for having to go to extension, which is why I say probably better just to have a phone number that goes directly to the fax box of a user. If you're making use of the conference bridge, you can activate conferencing, and then you can set up the PIN, the conference room number, and the PIN. Follow me. This is for people with multiple devices. You notice that device I just added is set up as do not ring. I can change that, and then I can adjust the slider. I can also opt to do a distribute, right? So this rings in order. This is my total ring duration up here. It's 120 seconds, so 2 minutes. If I want to change the order, I can click and drag however I want it to work. Or I can just do something like this. Now it's going to ring all my devices at the same time for the entire time, at least until I pick up. Music on hold. Users can have their own music on hold. You can upload a file. Oh, I guess I should enable it here so we can see that. All right, upload a file. 1 megabyte in mono.wave.mp3. Or you can choose of files that are already on the system. Customize call recording. If you're making use of call recording, you enable it. Inbound internal means a call came in from another user on this account to me. Right? Inbound external means a customer called in. Right? Someone outside the company called me. So outbound internal means I called another user on the account. And then outbound external means I called a customer back. So off means I'm not recording. On means I am. Or you can say, hey, record everything. All call recordings are stored on AWS, and there's a link that you can get to. And in fact, the link for call recording, right there, Recording Manager. All right, groups, short for ring groups, basically departments. You look and add a group. You give it a name, you give an extension number, and then you click and drag people you want in the group. And then you click on Create Group. Once the group's created, you can click on the name. You can always change the name of the group. Dialing repeats, and there's little arrows here to the right that are very hard to see. Basically, how many times can that inbound caller ring through the group, right? So this is set up to 2, meaning it's going to ring through each person twice, unless, of course, one of my staff members picks up the call. Speaking of the staff members, if you click on members, you see these are the 3 people I have. Here's the total ring duration up here in the top right. So in this case, I'm having them ring all 3 of these people the entire time, right, for 120 seconds. So call comes in, and let's say the first call comes in, Duke picks up. He's helping a customer. That's great. If a second call comes in while Duke is on a call, he will get a call waiting beep on his side to let him know another call came in, and I'll keep beeping until either Lala or myself picks up that call. You also have the option to distribute, so you can ring an order. Right? You can also change the order, and again, you can adjust the sliders as you see fit. Click on the extension box. You can add additional extensions for a ring group if you need to. You can add a phone number specific to a ring group. So basically, call comes in, goes straight to the group. No need to hit a menu option or listen to a greeting. And then you've got group features. First one is call recording. Basically, if you enable it, you're recording calls that come into the group. If you don't enable it, you're not recording calls to the group. Even if the users have call recording enabled, if a call is coming into a group and this is disabled on the group, then the call won't get recorded. Ringback, this is essentially the hold music while your customer is waiting for one of your staff members to pick up. So again, you can upload a file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, 1 megabyte in size. You want to make sure that the file matches the ring duration or the ringing timeout for the group, right? So default on groups is 120 seconds, so make sure the file is 120 seconds. The system does not automatically loop the ringback file. Next action, if your staff members aren't able to pick up, what do you want the system to do with a call? Normally people send it to a voicemail box, but you can also send it back to the main menu. Allow call forward. This is for your VoIP phone users. If you enable this, they can make use of call forwarding, so group calls will then go to their cell phones, i.e. because they're going to be off-site or away from their desk. Caller Id Prepend. Again, this is for your VoIP phone users. You can add additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID that shows up on their VoIP phones to give your staff members a heads up about what kind of call this is. Especially useful if you have staff members in multiple groups. Devices. These are all the devices on the account. You can add devices here. The two that I would not add are the web phone and then a VirtualPBX soft phone. Right? Those you want to do on the users page. But anything else you can add here. Typically, what we see is like a new facility is opening up. The IT guy is there with the VoIP phones, and he's like, well, I can just add them all. And then once your staff members are in place and people know where their desks are, etc., then you assign those VoIP phones to the specific user. Red means the phone is not registered, meaning the system is not sure that we can send a call to it, so it won't. Green means, oh, it's okay, it's connected, so we'll send a call to that device. And then black means it's disabled. Voicemail boxes, shows you the voicemail boxes on the account. If you have a user name under the user field, that means that's that user's personal voicemail box. It's the one that's intrinsically tied to them. These other ones here, you can see don't have a user associated with it. That means I manually created them, which you do up here. You give it a name, a voicemail box, and a PIN number, and then click Create New. So one, you probably want to upload or select a media file to play for the voicemail box greeting. You probably want to give it a recipient, so an email address. And once you've done those two things under Options, you can then put a check mark in front of Already Set Up. And then you can also decide to do Delete After Notification. So what that is once the system has emailed the person, whoever you've selected, saying, hey, here's your voicemail, once that email is sent off, the system deletes the voicemail on the account. Voicemail boxes can hold up to 100 messages. Once you hit 100 messages, it won't accept any new messages. And it'll tell the person, mailbox is full, please try again later. But if you're already going to send the email out with the voicemail to someone, you might as well just click Delete After Notification. That way you don't have to worry about the voicemail box getting full. This is the greetings or the greetings manager. You can see all the greetings on the account. You can download them so you can then listen to them. If you click on the little wrench icon, you can edit them so you can change the name so it's something you'll more easily remember or recognize, as well as you have the option to delete. Call logs, this shows your call activity on the account. The green arrow to the right means a call came into the system. If you see an orange or yellow arrow to the left, that means that's an outgoing call. You can click on it for some additional information. This is a test account, so it shouldn't be getting that many calls anyway, but on your accounts, you would see calls getting offered to your users. So you can see basically how long it's been offered, etc. Our engineers are working on advanced reporting based off of the calling information. I don't have an ETA on when that's going to be available, though. Feature codes, I did mention these, especially under hot desking. These are things you can use from your VoIP phones to access some of the features, like call forwarding, where the user can set up their own call forwarding themselves. All right, next up we have the stuff under here, the 3 horizontal line icons. So we're on the dashboard right now. We have call queues. Call queues are similar to ring groups, except that they have different routing options available to them. There are also $30 per month per queue. So this account's got 5 queues, so I'm actually spending an extra $150. Once you've created a queue, by clicking Add New Queue, but you'll get to this page. So you give it a name. You can give it an extension number or its own phone number. And then you have queue routing strategies. There are 4 available. So most idle basically means the call comes in and goes to the person who's been waiting for a call the longest. Then you've got least offered, meaning whoever's had the least amount of calls sent to them, right? So Bob has had 20 calls offered to him. Mary's had 5. Mary gets the next call that comes in. Third option is least calls. So in that same scenario, Bob had 20 calls offered, Mary had 5. Now, if Mary spoke to all 5 of her customers, but Bob only spoke to 2, the next call that comes in under least calls is going to go to Bob. And then lastly, there's round robin. It's essentially random, balances out over time. All right, hold treatment. You can upload a file. Again, .wav, .mp3, 1 megabyte, recorded in mono. The queue timeout, basically this is how much time your inbound callers can wait on hold, measured in seconds. Queue call limit, you can limit the number of people who can wait on hold. If you select the 0, that means there's no limit. Now, timeout immediately if empty. This means if you have no staff members logged in and a caller comes into your queue, it's automatically going to time them out because there's no point in waiting. So, if the timeout happens, or like this 3,600 second timeout happens, or the queue is empty, these next 2 options determines what you do with that caller. So, escalation queue, you can choose an additional queue to send a caller to if the timer runs out or there's no one there. Or if you have it selected none like I did here, then instead I'm sending it to a voicemail box so that inbound caller can leave a message. Over here on the right, we've got the agent behavior. So recovery time is after an agent has completed a call and the call ends. In this case, it's 300, which is a lot, but 300 seconds before that agent's offered another call from the queues. Basically gives them time. Normally it should be like 30 seconds, I think is a default. So that's time to like get a sip of water, update their notes, etc. Force away after reject or missed. Basically, agent isn't able to pick up a call for whatever reasons. The system puts them in away mode, meaning that agent has to forcibly mark themselves as ready and available to take a call before a call is offered to them again. I would say that's probably more of like a sales or commission-based kind of setting where you want to make sure people are there and answering calls, and if they're not, well, then they have to make themselves ready so they can make money. And then agent connect timeout, again in seconds. How much time are you trying to reach the devices on that user? One thing to keep in mind about queues, right now, queues only send calls to VoIP devices. So physical VoIP phone, a soft phone, or the web phone. Ring groups, doesn't matter. You can have cell phones or landlines. But in queues, you have to have VoIP phones. Now, in terms of staff members, you would click on the little head with the headset here. Then you click on Manage. And so what you're first doing is saying, you highlight the people, you click Add as a Members, and now they're available in your call center groups. Then you would go back to the call centers. We'll go to this one so it'll be easier to see. Then you click Add Agents, and then you have all those people available that you can then add. Although apparently this browser in the streaming software isn't working with me too much here. All right. Next up, we have blacklists. Basically, this allows you to block phone numbers from reaching your account. Right? So you edit blacklists. If you don't have a blacklist, you would click Add. Otherwise, you select one that you already have. And then you add a phone number, +1 area code and phone number. You would click Add. You click Save. You go back to Settings. And then you move that list into the selected area. And then you click Update. So now those phone numbers, when they try to call your account, no matter what phone number on your account they call, they're going to get a busy tone. That way they can't get through. So basically, if someone's harassing you, or if you get a specific phone number from a robodial that they always show up, you can just block that number, and it'll stop ringing to your account. As an admin, you can get to any fax box on the account and see whatever faxes they have. You can also do that for the outbound, and then you can also get the email to fax logs. User portal, everyone has access to the user portal if they're a user on the account. Voicemails, this would show up if you do not have the delete after notification enabled, right? If you do have delete after notification, there will be nothing here. Call history, you can see the history of the calls, and again, you can select the date range. Faxes, you can see any faxes they have. The contact list, this is all the users and extensions on the account. Conference, basically this is how they manage their conferencing. They can invite people, and that means invite other users on the account. They can lock it so other people can't join. They can mute everybody. They can unmute everybody. They can end the conference. When they're actually in a conference, they also, for individual participants, they have the option to mute a particular participant as well as kick a particular participant. And then settings and devices. Again, this allows users to enable their own call forwarding and to which phone number, as well as see what the device's status is. And again, as an admin, you can get to any voicemail box on the account. And basically see what messages they have. And then there's webhooks. That basically allows use of APIs to basically link Dash to other software. And that is the training. If you have any questions, feel free to make use of the chat. I'll hang out for a minute or so just to see if anyone does have any questions. But if you don't, then I thank you for your time today, and I hope you have a wonderful day. All right, not seeing anything show up in chat, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Again, thank you for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day.